I'm Jason, and tonight we get to read the Gettysburg Address delivered by President Lincoln a few months after the Battle of Gettysburg at the Gettysburg National Cemetery there in Pennsylvania. He was invited to come and speak, and it turned out, people believe now, that he had the precursor or a low-grade case of smallpox at the time. But he was invited with another gentleman, I think I have it written down here, Edward Everett, who Everett had delivered like a 2-hour speech, and President Lincoln's Gettysburg Address ended up being like a minute and a half or something like that. We'll see how long it takes me to get through it. And it's considered one of the greatest speeches of all time. And so if you want to dig up a little more history on it, it's really super fascinating. And I will do my best to do it justice here. So now we have the Gettysburg Address by President Lincoln. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. We are now engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. Good night.